Shalom.
Wow, what a
So,
countdown.
my nephew Ryan made it. Okay. So I am here with my big star, which I got. My cousin Nicole, who's my little cousin Nicole. I used to change her diapers. I know, really
You used to
embarrassing.
do my homework for me, let's be honest.
Okay, and the reason I decided to actually take some of Nicole's time and thank you so much for agreeing to come on is because I have been um, changing careers and I started a Substack and I wanted to explain things to people better. And I thought at first of putting some sort of presentation together and doing a video. And then I thought, oh, you know what? I should have a conversation with someone. And I thought, oh my God, this is what Nicole does. And at Thanksgiving, I was able to get her to agree to come on my channel. And I was like, please, Nicole, will you please come? Because I obviously can't afford her big influencer fees.
I
Uh,
don't charge influencer fees to people. I get sponsored by brands. So
okay. I understand, but yeah, if I don't want people to think I actually was able to pay your fees. She's doing this because she's being incredibly nice to her poor little cousin. When she's not running around jet setting all over the world, and I was listening to your conversation when you asked Zuby about what's that guy who converted to Islam?
Andrew
I forget.
Tate?
Yeah, when you asked Zuby about Andrew Tate, and Zuby was like, "Well, I'm friends with Andrew Tate, and I'm friends with Nicole," and I'm like, "Oh, 2 degrees of Zuby."
Oh my God.
Anyway, so thank you for coming on, and you can do your magic and interview me about the big changes I'm making for my channel.
Okay, perfect. First of all, thank you for having me. Second of all, I am very lucky that I grew up with you because I got into journalism because of you. So thank you for that. Second of all, um, I want to talk a little bit about your background because you did go to law school, but that's not what you do. Um, and your interests lie more in this arena a little bit. First of all, I see on the top of the screen it says identity and orientation as a theology.
Hmm.
I don't even know what that means. You tell me.
And this is why I love you. So, for a long time I was a practicing Orthodox Jew, and that's when I was in law school. And then I went and I was an assistant rabbi for a little while. And so theology has always been really important to me. But what has always also been really important to me is being a Persian refugee. Like, as a child coming to the United States, I so always appreciated the differences here in America from just the lack of civilization that I experienced during the war in Iran. And I won't get into all the really traumatic things that happened, but I had a lot of trauma from that. And so when I went to school, like when I got into journalism, when I got into law, when I got into public administration, I was also doing my master's of public administration at USC. I was it was because I wanted to understand, and also theology, like all my study of theology and philosophy and stuff. It's because I wanted to understand the world, and I wanted to understand why why America was able to give me the refuge that it has, and how why it is that here in the United States, our lives are so much better than they were in Iran, right? And so that's really been a motivating factor for me all through my life. And now, when I decided, what do I want to do? COVID really affected my insurance business. And I I see the mental health crisis coming, and I want to help. And I thought, oh, I'll go into psychotherapy, personally with my trauma, and I've had years and years of very expensive therapy. um, but I decided, you know what, I'll go into psychotherapy. And the best way for that is to become a licensed clinical social worker, I believe. And it really does reflect a lot of things that I care about. I resisted becoming a social worker. I resisted a lot of things because as a younger person, I think I believed a lot of the discourses that the wokerati or critical race theory creates, which educates us and really indoctrinates us in a certain way and orients us. So ultimately, I think I've grown in my theology and in my religion in a way that now I better understand identity and orientation and theology, because ultimately all of those things are the same thing. They tell you how to structure the hierarchy of your values and who you are and how you relate to other people. And that's why, so now that I'm going into Masters of Social Work, I looked back. So now at 45, I'm not the same person I was at 35 or at 25 or at 15, right? And certainly not at 5.
Thank God
and... So, at 5, I was that refugee I wasn't even a refugee. I was a Jewish child, the son of a convicted Zionist spy in Tehran, living through the Islamic Revolution and the Iran-Iraq War. That's who I was at 5. And at 15, I was an American teenager trying to find myself and figure out what I wanted to do and how I was going to be as an adult. At 25, I was an Orthodox Jew who had spent a year in Israel studying Talmud and was in law school at USC and also doing a master's of public administration and trying to save the world, but failing. Like, I was 25. What did I know? But I wanted to save the world. And at 35, honestly, that was the darkest period of my life. I was in the desert. I didn't know. So that was the period when I kind of disappeared from everything. And I didn't know what God wanted from me and where I was and who I was. And I started the process of rebuilding my life and started that's when I started my insurance business. And now at 45, I think I'm a much more mature person, and I'm going back to school to get my master's degree. And frankly, it's kind of funny. Like, a 25-year-old, if I had graduated with my master's of social work and gone into therapy, Like, what the fuck would I know, you know?
I know what you mean.
It's like a 25-year-old psychotherapist. Like, so it's funny, but in a sense, at age 45, like, this is the perfect age to actually start a degree. And so, like, my life has fallen into place
Can
very
I
well, I
can
think.
I
Sure.
can I interrupt you and go back to something you said?
Sure.
Okay, you mentioned hierarchy of values, and so I think um, you know, as you've grown, clearly your values have changed, the hierarchy of your values. I think that's what you're alluding to when, you talk about what is a 25-year-old psychotherapist gonna do?
Right.
Like, so what are the hierarchy of your values now? How would you rank them? What are they?
I still think God is first, but my understanding of God is very different than it was when I was younger. So my religious identity is definitely way up there. Um, Next, I am an American, and what that means to me is also very different from what it has. But and third, I am, so I guess this is like globally, and then in our nation, and then locally, my community in Los Angeles, and then um coming together is really with my family. Like, I would be leaving Los Angeles. I would, if like our entire family wasn't here. But so I guess, I mean, in one sense, on top of the hierarchy is God, nation, local, family. And in another sense, it's actually topsy turvy. First is family, and then, but that's because God is the foundation. It's like God, it's the ground we stand on.
In what way?
Well, this is something that I had to learn, and I think I have learned a lot. And so we talk a lot about on my channel, and this little corner of the internet, as we call it, is we have, like, our theology, our our how we view God. So one thing I said to Michael, our cousin, who I talk with whenever I can, as much as I can, but he's also, like you, an incredibly busy person that I only get to talk to a little bit. Um, when I was talking to Michael, um, I I said, um, we don't realize how much it's the water we swim in is our theology, and it's it's what we don't know that is really deep within us, and that is your soul, your soul, which animates you. And so I said to him, I don't believe in a God you can see through a telescope or a microscope. I believe in a God that makes it possible for me to want to look through a telescope or a microscope, that makes it possible for me to even get up in the morning, right? That's it's turning that telescope over, right? And God isn't in front of the telescope or microscope. And John Vervaeke says this a lot. He's like, you have your glasses, and then when you meditate, you take off the glasses and you look at the glasses, right? And I think when you look at God, that's what you're doing. You're taking off the glasses and you're looking at the glasses.
So evaluate the way that you perceive the world.
Yeah. And what allows you to see the world. Yeah. Because, again, this is John Vervaeke, who I'm a big fan of, talks about we can't see the world if it's so funny, chat. So this is my friend Chad. I can't listen right now. Who is this Nicole? And what is she? Is it a she?
I'm hoping it's obvious, but man, I'm gonna have to wear
Nicole?
more makeup. I don't know.
Well, no. See, and that's the funny thing. You are actually very feminine, but you're not feminine in the weird ways that some people are. Like, I don't know if you even know of Blair White, but so Blair White is a trans woman, and she like is so beyond feminine. Like she's super feminine, right? And it's funny, but I think, and this is when I was talking to you like about your mom, her femininity is old school real femininity. She's very old school feminine. And so yeah, that's a whole conversation we could be having. But yeah, Nicole is my cousin, and she was gracious enough to come on my channel. So yeah, that's who Nicole is.
Okay, back to where we were. There's obviously many directions this conversation can go in, but maybe I feel like part of who you are and who you've always been is, you're interested in the cultural commentary, the cultural discourse, what's happening, who's saying what, the way that people are thinking, how politics affects, young people, all of that. And I know we talked about that clip that went viral of Constantine.
Yeah. And you actually know Constantine. You know all these people.
But I only know him through Twitter, but I don't even know how he knows me. I really don't. I really don't.
Yeah. But so part of what made me and thank you for getting to this. This is why you're a professional and I'm not. So part of what made me make a lot of the decisions I did as far as launching my Substack and changing how my Twitter profile and how I was going to do things was watching the Oxford debate. That's the clip that Constantine went viral with. And so like, okay, so I'll show this picture, which was the thing. So I'm watching this debate, and I know you don't have time to like watch the whole debate. Like,
yeah,
it was. But so she's a lingerie model who claims to be asexual, and she was spending the whole time like flashing her feminine parts, and it was like it reminded me a lot of Jordan Peterson's Twitter suit,
right?
Like, and it made me think of Jordan Peterson, and it made me think, and his Twitter suit, like the fact that it actually went viral, that it's such a masterpiece. Like,
I think he knew that it would go viral, though.
That's why it was created. It was It's his Twitter suit.
Yeah.
And people still, like, it was just so funny to me that people would go on Twitter and complain about his Twitter suit. It's like, that's performative art. That's having fun with it, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know if you actually watched the videos of him, but
I watched the one of him saying like, I didn't think I would even like this color, but I actually love it. I watched that one.
oh, okay. So the yeah, so he like it was made as a piece of artwork for him to wear,
Yeah.
right? And so he's having this discussion, and I know you have to go. Thank you so much. I'm taking your time,
No,
but
don't
thank
worry.
you.
I still have like 12 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. But he it was a work of art that was demonstrating an idea, right? It was just so funny when I was watching him, like watching this video it's from, right? And it's like like they couldn't have made the pants longer. Well, of course they could have made the pants longer and it wouldn't look so silly.
Yeah,
But
it's very strategic.
yes, just like her and
Very
how.
strategic.
Yeah, and really, okay, so one of the things that I thought of is when she says she's asexual, she's not actually asexual. She's a lingerie model. She's actually using that word in a very different way. She's saying, I'm a virgin. You can't have me.
You
She's
think
saying,
so?
oh yeah, I think like she she is it's the new asexual is the new way of saying you can't have me. I have no interest in you. You can just look at me from afar, right?
You know who else has a video saying something like that in a different way?
Hmm.
Elon Musk. I'll send it to you. He was like, I find it very odd that people chase sex for any reason other than procreation. And I was just like, oh, really? Like,
Oh
okay.
my god. So you always know how to. This is why I love you. Um so Rolling Stone magazine actually had an article where they talked about um where they talked about Elon Musk is trying to make his breeder fetish like trying to defend it and failing. And I was thinking, okay, this is Rolling Stone magazine, which is supposed to be like pro sex, right? And they're kink shaming Elon Musk for his supposed breeder fetish. And the
When was this
words,
when was this written?
this was a while ago. I will send you the article. It is a really
Send
interesting
me the
article.
article. I actually had a close friend. I don't know if you're familiar with Neil Strauss. He wrote The Game and like several other, look him up. He spent 6 months with Elon Musk and wrote a cover article on
Mm-hmm.
him years ago. So I'm assuming that's not the same article, but
Oh no,
interesting.
no, no. It was just such a stupid article. I'm sorry. Like this the idea that having children is a kink itself is just like it's such a
Bizarre.
strange. Yeah, it's absurd. And a lot of things, like, we live in this clown world. And one of the things I realized, and I know you didn't have time to read all my Substack posts, but one of the things I mentioned on my Substack post was when I was in law school, I recognized that I was being countercultural by being a conservative. Like, being a conservative is how you were countercultural. And at the same time, it's like that makes no sense. Like, how can being a conservative be countercultural? And what I realized was I had been positioned there by forces bigger than me. I'm not actually a conservative at all, but I was moved there, and I was being possessed by. So here we talk about being possessed by spirits a lot. I was being possessed by a spirit that was using me in ways I didn't understand. And I was playing a part, and I was the NPC when I was in law school. And so now, going through school, my intent is to be mature and not be that. And that's part of why I changed all the words. Like, I changed my Twitter profile. Like, I still think my Twitter profile says the exact same thing that it did before, but it uses language that, unless you dig into it, it makes you. So I started using gi, gim, giz pronouns.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, yes, but why? Because you know what? Like, if you're talking about me, if that's how, like, you're demanding that I give you my pronouns. You are and the school does demand it, right? What are your pronouns, right? Well, these are my pronouns. I want to use a voiceless uvular consonant, and which English doesn't have. Because you know what? I'm Persian and I'm Jewish, and so you can use the Persian or
So
you can use.
that's your identity. You actually do identify with that.
I do. I'm not joking. I am actually
Dead serious.
dead serious.
And you're not mocking anyone either.
Well, I don't know about not mocking.
This is the one thing I have to say, and I'm curious to know your thoughts on this, because I feel like we all live in echo chambers. And to go back to, that Constantine clip, and then it's funny because Tucker Carlson had him on, and he mentioned that usually when people give speeches like that at a college campus or something, there's no applause, but in this case, there was. I think, one, I don't know that the students knew where he sat on the political spectrum, one. Two, I think in a way, he was like trying to manufacture hope, which is sticky. And three, there was a lot of humor in it. But my problem, and this is why I actually never really comment on politics. I make observations, but I don't really feel strongly either way, because I see a lot of patterns on both sides that I just don't care for. But what I don't understand is, because we live in these echo chambers, why people think on either side that mocking or putting down the other side will convince them to change. Because obviously both sides think their ideology is the right one. And so that's why Constantine's clip was so revolutionary and powerful, because it didn't fall under any of right wing, left wing bullshit. It was more like, here's the freaking reality. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then that example he gave with the parent that would absolutely smash a button, that's just perspective. Right. You know what I mean? And so when you offer that and you communicate in that way, it's much more relatable. But if you actually watch these news stations or commentators, including Tucker Carlson and including, some people on left-wing channels that are, that also punch down at other people. First of all, we all know it's for clicks. Second of all, where are we getting here with this type of media landscape? And that's, I want to end on that question.
Yeah. Okay. So you always hit, your questions always hit right in the center. You're right. You're not going to convince someone by making fun of them. You will convince them by making them laugh. And that's where the humor has to come in. It has to be an authentic humor. And so when I first disagreed with you, but you're absolutely right. I'm not I am making fun, but I'm making fun because I'm not humorless. Not because I'm attacking. I'm not being a bully. And that's what people really don't like. They don't like bullies. And so,
Or
yes.
or they love bullies if those bullies agree with their position.
Well, yeah, if
That's
those bullies are bullying the right people and you're at the head of a mob, yeah, you're right. And you know what? But that type of action isn't going to convince people and move the landscape, exactly like you were saying. It's, you have to make people laugh, and that's why, like, Eric was asking, like, why aren't the late night people, Eric Weinstein, who is a great friend of Nicole's and knows me a little bit.
that's true.
He was asking why the late night guys aren't funny anymore. And it's because it's just like, it's not laughter, it's clapter, right? Yeah, they're just trying to get people to clap for, but it's not actually funny. Like, I remember when The Onion was funny, and I think that the Babylon Bee,
I was just gonna say, now we have the Babylon Bee. Wake
yeah,
up.
and that's why they had to silence the bee, and that's why Elon had to buy Twitter to get Babylon Bee back on Twitter. Because
Right,
it was, yeah.
Here's the other thing that I noticed that I want to end on, and we can continue this conversation later. But now we're sort of in like Elon's world, you know what I mean? Where everyone in tech, and on the right a little bit, is kissing his ass, and everyone who's I guess, I don't know, left wing or woke or whatever, is just trying to trash him and say that he's doing a bad job. And by the way, putting people, this is the problem that I see, is putting people on a pedestal or trashing them completely are both horrible takes, horrible positions. Same goes with someone like Andrew Tate. I cannot believe how many people feel they need to have so much allegiance to him, and how smart that guy is to take Islam and start, instead of saying that something is bad, saying haram. Genius. Are you kidding? Now all these people, you know how many Muslims there are in the world who are gonna love this? I mean, it's so genius if you think about it, but it's crazy the way that people don't understand how manipulated they are to put people on pedestals. And it's almost this childlike thing where when we're kids, we believe our parents are right about everything. And then when you grow up, you wake up and you're like, oh shit, mom don't know as much as they think. And so that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like everybody has become a child again and so reactive to everything. And if you really just stop and take a moment and take the macro view on everything and say, you know what, there are some things that this person is saying and doing that works, and some things that just doesn't work. You know, when I started becoming friends with all of these like thought leaders and authors and people I didn't have access to before, I started, you know, when I started becoming friends with them, I would start calling them for advice about everything. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that so and so is talking to me. And like, I have their phone number and I could just call and like, I ask them for dating advice and career advice and this and that. And as I started to get to know them, I realized that not all of them are qualified to give advice on everything. They have an expertise and an arena that they're really really good at, and they hit the nail on the head. And there's some things that they have no bearing, they have no authority to give advice on, and in that arena in their life they're actually really not doing well. So who was I to go call them and be like, oh, so and so is qualified to tell me what to do, and that's the thing, is that people need to have perspective. If you're on the internet, if you're a consumer of news, if you're a consumer of Twitter or anything, you have to realize that it's important to be a critical thinker, and you should really look for people who know what they're talking about and have solid arguments, and at the same time realize that, hey, maybe this person could be wrong about things too. So that includes both of us.
So, my cousin Nicole, who's not only beautiful and very intelligent, but also very wise. I will end the broadcast and come back on later. But thank you so much for coming on, Nicole.
Thanks for having me.